Hey guys, welcome back to One Stop Biology. So guys, in today's video, we are going to start off with a new unit of ecology. So if we talk about the unit ecology, it is all about the diversity and how all of these different kind of diversities are interconnected. So the first chapter that we are going to deal with is chapter 13, which is organisms and population. So, guys, when we talk about ecology, ecology basically is concerned with four levels of biological organizations. And what are these levels? These levels are the first one is organism, second is populations, third is communities, and fourth is biomes. So in this chapter, we are basically going to explore about the organism level and population level ecology. So first we'll start off with organism level ecology. So basically it is organism and how it is interconnected with its environment, right? So if we talk about the ecology at organismic level, it is basically essential physiological ecology, right? So it tries to understand how different organisms are basically adapted to their environment in terms of not only their survival but also reproduction. So when we talk about organismic level ecology, we are basically talking about survival of organism and reproduction of organism. So basically we are talking about, survival as well as increasing the population, right? Increasing the population of this that organism by reproduction, right? Now, guys, if we talk about, the rotation of our planet, so in previous classes, in earlier classes, in smaller classes, we have already studied about the annual variation because of intensity and duration of temperature, because there is a tilt in the axis and the way we, rotate around the sun, right? So basically, there are distinct seasons, is what we studied in previous classes, right? And these variation together with annual variation in precipitation, which is basically rain and snow, accounts for formation of major biomes. Now, what are these major Biomes. These major biomes may be desert, it may be the rainforest, or it may be the tundra, right? And the first diagram that you see, this first diagram that you see here is nothing but the biome distribution. So as you can see that towards one axis we have the mean annual precipitation and towards the other axis we have mean annual temperature. And as you go forward in precipitation, you are basically going from Arctic alpine tundra to coniferous forest, temperate forest, and tropical forest. In the same way, as you go around mean annual temperature, again, here the towards the lesser temperature, we have the Arctic and alpine tundra, and as we are increasing the temperature, we are going towards the desert and grasslands, right? So basically, this means that there are regional and local variations within each biome, and this leads to formation of a wide variety of habitats, right? And if we talk about the different biomes, the major biomes of India, basically we also have desert, we also have sea coast, we have tropical rainforest, and we have deciduous forest as well. So you can see that in India itself there is a variety of habitat, right? So we have the Rajasthan desert, which is extremely scorching, heat with high temperature. We have rain-soaked Meghalayan forests. We have deep ocean trenches. We have high mountain tops of Mount Everest, right? And if we are talking about biome, we have our intestine, which is a unique habitat for hundreds of species of microbes, which are good bacteria, right? So with this entire concept, guys, we are basically reaching towards a proper word, which is, and this word is niche, right? Now, what does this mean? So basically, guys, each organism have a defined range of conditions that it can tolerate. Then there is a defined range of diversity in the resources that it utilizes. And then there are a distinct functional role that particular organism plays in the ecological system. Now, all these together comprise of the niche. So basically, the organism, along with its function, along with the resources that it will be utilizing, and the conditions that it can tolerate, is known as the niche. Now let's talk about the major abiotic factors, guys. So basically, there are various factors. There are various abiotic factors which affect the ecological environment, which affect the entire ecology, right? So the very first factor that we are going to talk about is temperature. It is temperature. Right? So guys, temperature is considered as the most important ecological factor. It is the most important relevant ecological environmental factor. Yeah, right? So we are, already aware that in different parts of Earth, right, the temperature varies because of the different type of seasons. So basically, average temperature, if we talk about the average temperature, this average temperature varies with seasons, right? It varies seasonally and it decreases from equator. So the average temperature decreases from equator towards the poles, right? So if we move towards the poles from the equator, it decreases, right? And also when we move plains towards mountains, right? So it also decreases when we move from plains to mountains, right? Now, if we talk about the range, it basically ranges from sub-zero in polar regions. So it is basically sub-zero where in polar regions, and it even goes up to 50 degrees Celsius, more than 50 degrees Celsius in tropical deserts, right? Again, there are various kinds of other unique habitats as well. Like you would have heard of thermal springs, thermal springs, right? Or say deep sea hydrothermal vents, right? So if we talk about thermal springs or deep sea hydrothermal vents, here the average temperature even exceeds 100 degrees Celsius, right? So you can see how vastly the temperature varies depending upon the surrounding environment, right? Now, guys, let's say an example that now for different plants and animals, even they can adapt to a certain range of temperature, and that is the reason there are several varieties of plants and animals which are found according to the ecology, right? Say, for example, mango tree, right? Mango tree cannot grow in temperate countries like, say, Canada, Germany, or just the opposite, snow leopards, right? Snow leopards will never be found in regions like Kerala, right? Now you can basically, see the significance of temperature to living organisms, right? So basically the temperature, it affects the kinetics of enzyme, and it also affects the metabolic activity and physiological functions of the organism. And we have always heard that with, say, any kind of protein, there is an optimum temperature. If the temperature is lower than that, very low than that, or very high than that, the protein, and if we talk about the enzymes, which are nothing but proteins, they get denatured, right? So basically, all the physiological functions, all the kinetics of enzymes, all the metabolic activities are affected by temperature, right? Now, there are very few, guys, there are very few organisms who can tolerate and thrive in a wide variety of temperatures. And these organisms are known as eurythermal. They are known as eurythermals, right? But then there are a vast majority who are actually restricted to a narrow range of temperature. So organisms which are restricted, organisms which are restricted to a narrow range of temperature. These are known as these are known as stenothermal. Stenothermal. So eurythermals are organisms who can tolerate and thrive in a wide range of temperature, and stenothermal are organisms which can grow in a very narrow range of temperature only. Right? Now, guys, again, it determines this level of thermal tolerance of different species determine to a large extent their geographical distribution. So how they are distributed, right? This depends on how much they are tolerant towards temperature, right? So this is all about temperature, guys. Now the second abiotic factor that we have to study about is water. Water. Again, a very important factor, guys. Remember, again, a very important factors, and basically it influences the life of organisms directly. So basically, life on Earth, we say that the life on Earth originated in water, right? And no one can survive without water. So the life on Earth is unsustainable. It is unsustainable without water. Right? Now its availability is limited in places like deserts, right? So basically, again, there are special adaptations within animals and plants to survive in conditions where the availability of water is limited, right? So basically, again, guys, you will see distribution of various organisms of plants and animals depending upon the availability of water in that area, right? Now, the productivity and distribution of plants is heavily dependent of water, right? So, organisms which are living in oceans, lakes, or rivers, you would feel that they should not face water-related problems, but that is not true. You will have to remember that even for aquatic organisms, the quality, by quality of water, what do we mean by quality of water? So quality of water means the chemical composition of water. It also means pH of water, right? So basically, guys, even for aquatic organisms, the quality of water becomes very important. So what happens usually in water bodies is that the salt concentration is very high, right? Now, the salt concentration, if we measure it as salinity in parts per thousand, is less than 5 in inland waters, right? By inland waters, we mean basically inland water means any kind of water body which is surrounded by a particular area. There is a particular inland, right? There is a particular boundary to it, right? So basically, our canals, ponds, all these are inland waters, right? So for inland water, what we said is that it is less than 5, the salt concentration. I'm talking about the salt concentration. Now, in case of sea, it is 30 to 35. So basically, for inland water bodies, it is less than 5. For sea, it is around 30 to 35. And for hypersaline lagoons, very high salt, it can go up to even more than 100, right? So basically, again, there are some organisms which are tolerant to wide range of salinities, and these are known as euryhaline, right? The way we had thermal and we had stenothermal, here we have euryhaline. And then there are other organisms which are restricted to a narrow range of salt in water, narrow range of salinities. Now, these animals are known as stenohaline. So we have euryhalines and steno lines, right? Now, guys, apart from that, there are many freshwater animals which cannot live for long in seawater, and there are many seawater animals which cannot live for long in freshwater. This is because of the osmotic problems. So the animals present in different water bodies, whether it is freshwater or marine water, their bodies are adjusted to the osmotic pressure, to the entire process of osmosis, right? So if you change their environment, there are many animals which will not be able to survive because of these osmotic problems that would occur, right? So again, guys, water is another very important part of the ecosystem, right? Now, the third one that we have to discuss is light. Now, guys, again, is light very important? Yes. Again, the third factor, which is light, is very, very important. Why? Because there are many species who prepare their own food, but they can only prepare their food in the presence of sunlight, in the presence of light. So it is very, very important for, say, autotrophs. Very important for autotrophs. Right? So basically, say, for example, plants produce food through photosynthesis, right? Now, this process is only possible if sunlight is available as a source of energy, right? So now you'll have to understand the importance of light for living organisms, and that too particularly autotrophs. Now, say many species of small plants, which are herbs or shrubs, they grow in forests, are adapted to photosynthesis optimally under very growing in forests, right? So these are basically adapted to low light condition. Why so? Because they are constantly overshadowed by tall trees, the canopied trees, right? Again, in same way, many plants are dependent on sunlight to meet their photoperiodic requirements, which is which is basically important for flowering as well, right? So this is all about plants. Now, even for animals, it is important because they use the seasonal variation. They use the diurnal and seasonal variations in light intensity and duration, which is again a kind of photoperiod mechanism for them, right? So their migratory activities, their foraging, their reproductive activities, all are dependent on these seasonal variations. Right? So now, guys, the availability of light on Earth, on land, is very closely linked with that of temperature. Why? Because basically for us, sun is the source of sunlight as well as temperature maintenance. Right? Now, if say in the oceans, there is an exception. So say deep in the ocean, by deep I mean more than 500 meters. If we talk about more than 500 meters deep in the ocean, the environment is dark and is inhabitant, right? So basically, its inhabitants are not even aware of the existence of something called sun, right? So there is again a variety of environment, right? Somewhere we are completely dependent on sunlight. Somewhere there are certain organisms, plants and animals who do not even know if something like sun exists, right? Now, when it comes to the solar radiation, the radiation which is coming out, the light which is coming out of the sun, right? So even the quality, the spectral quality of solar radiation is also important for life. How do we know that? So basically, the ultraviolet component, the UV component of this spectrum is harmful to many organisms, right? And if we talk about the other part, not all the color components of the visible spectrum are available for marine plants, right? So there are certain marine plants who do not require these components as well, right? So again, a lot of variation, a lot of diversity depending upon the presence or absence or the kind of spectrum which is reaching on different surfaces of Earth, right? So guys, with this, we have reached to the last point, last abiotic factor, which is soil, right? So the last factor that we have to discuss is soil. Again, a very important abiotic factor. Now, tell me how it is important. So basically, now, what we say is that, soil gives not just stability, but provides nutrients to all the different set of plants, right? So basically, we are saying that soil is important because it gives a lot of different type of things to plants. And when it comes to animals, in some or the other form, we are dependent on plants because these are important autotrophs, right? So now when it comes to the nature and properties of soil, the nature and properties of soil again is different in places. So basically it varies in different places and it is dependent on the climate. That is one. Then it is also dependent on the weathering process. So basically, if we talk about how soil is formed, it is formed by weathering of rocks, right? Then whether the soil is transported or sedimentary, right? So whether soil is transported or sedimentary, right? Or say how the soil development has occurred. That affects the quality of soil. Right? Now, various characteristics of soil is like the composition, the grain size, the aggregation, which determines the percolation, the water holding capacity of the soil. So there are various type of characteristics of soil. Now, these characteristics, along with pH, what is the mineral composition, what is the topography, all these things, the characteristics of soil and the different parameters like pH, the mineral composition, right, the topography, all this dictates the kind of vegetation in any particular area. And once we know about the vegetation, we also then know what kind of animals can be supported in that particular area, right? Now, this is about the terrestrial place. Similarly, in the aquatic environment, again, the sediment and characteristics determine the benthic animal that can thrive inside water, right? The aquatic animals that can thrive. So, again, we have seen that soil is very much needed for autotrophs, for their nutrition, for their, stability, and this in turn basically makes the animal dependent on soil as well, because they are dependent on plants in one or the other way, right? So guys, with this we have finished different type of abiotic factors. I hope you would have understood the video. If yes, please do like it and share it with all your friends. And guys, if you're new to the channel, please do not forget to subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon so that you get all the updated videos that I'll be posting. And yes, if you have any doubt with respect to this video, guys, please do not hesitate in dropping a message. You can either drop a message in comment on this video, or you can also drop in a message over WhatsApp. I have given the WhatsApp number in the description of this video. Thanks for watching this video, guys. See you in the next one. Take care. Bye bye.